Hey everybody, this is Grace, and today is Sunday after school let out for the summer. Yay! You know, a bunch of kids probably sleeping in late today. Been up last night, happy as can be, jumping around. Do you remember what it's like? But anyway, on that note, now I'm going to turn to talk about people with attitude problems, neighbors and people like that. I know, big change, but yeah, I want to talk about this because it really is bugging me, some of the things I've seen lately. Okay, so I say that as I'm coming down the road, and you really can't see it from this angle, but they are parked way far away from the curb, and kind of blocking the other one there, and some car was coming down the road. And they weren't happy. But that's one of the things I was going to talk about that just happened as I got out into my SUV at my house. Right, you know, the curb that's right next to it, to my driveway. And right there, somebody had parked just then while I was out there, and they didn't park, you know, against the curb. They park in the road. It's like, really now? And then I come around here and I see that. That's actually a bit worse than the person that parked at mine. And I'm sure it was because of a neighbor who is doing something you're not supposed to do. That's my whole conversation today is about people who, I think the expression is they buck the system. You know, buck the system. Or something like that. Where, you know, they're not supposed to be doing this, but they do it anyway. People know. Okay, what is going on there? What was that all about? I know I'm being nosy, but it's curious. It's an elderly person. So, there's a neighbor not too happy that's standing out there. Wow, yikes. If that wasn't enough, there was a truck coming down this road going about like 50. This is a 30, you see. And it had it was above a truck, and it had a whatever behind it, whatever that is. I guess it's a work crew or something, but it was a newer truck. Big truck. And, you know, it's not a tow truck or anything, but it's a truck, but it's a bigger size. I know I'm sounding funny. I am. But it had one of those, I don't know, maybe it's a mower or something. They were flying down this road. Well, there was another, you know, automobile. I think it was an SUV coming from right there. You see that road. And I almost hit. Okay, this is a neighborhood with kids. 30 miles per hour. It does not say 60. Doesn't say 50. Doesn't say 40 even. But then, you know, this is the thing. It's people bucking the system. I need to look that up. Okay, I know there's another expression for it, but that one will work. You know, this is actually kind of behaviors that psychopaths do. Okay, some of them, I would think all of them. Rules don't apply to them. No rules. That's how they see it. Rules don't apply to them. Last I heard, unless they changed that again. But no, you know, they being people who, you know, it's not actually, wow, the wind is picking up like weird. It's not actually a diagnosis now, a psychopath. I remember it being, at least that's how I remember. Oh man, the wind is something else. Okay. But, anyway, like I said, here it is. I was sitting outside in front of my house, and I went out because I had a hard time breathing inside my home again. I mean, I'm a hard time breathing again. And I think the air, you know, we have a big 2-story house, plenty of room. The downstairs is open to the upstairs, vaulted ceiling, you know, have plenty of ceiling fan. Well, not enough if you ask me, but ceiling fan, you know, that should, but the air gets so heavy, and that's how I feel it. The air gets heavy, and I would say, you know, when you have a chain smoker, Adam, who smokes in the living room, which is where, you know, that room is the one open to all. You know, the upstairs actually looks down on an open living room. Okay, and it's right there by the kitchen, by everything. I have to go through the living room to go anywhere else in the house. You know, besides just that one front 2 rooms. You know, and it's just so stuffy in there. So I get out, and I remember what that neighbor did yesterday, right here, right where I'm sitting. The neighbor the first thing that we knew about the neighbors there really was that neighbors, and they were nosy, and they caused us problems. Right away. Okay, I should say they tried to cause us problems. They failed, but still, to clear it up, they caused us problems, you know, time of our own. And to learn our neighbors were that bad. And anytime, and I've learned in my lifetime, anytime a neighbor has something, you know, like, you know, they're suspicious of people, they got those, you know, like people say, when you're pointing at someone, you got three fingers pointing back at you. Yeah. And that's what I've learned about my neighbors. Not just my neighbors, like the one that's creepy. Oh man, there's one of them. He must think he's on some kind of a neighborhood watch or something. Now Adam has said he's done it to him too. But I think that what Adam was talking about is not the same, but it could be. But he said that, you know, what happened to me, which was 2 times. It's been more than 2, really. I go to somewhere not close to here. Like one was it was a grocery store, and it wasn't near, but I went out there to pick up some medication. My doctor's office was right down the road. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And within 20 years. I'd say probably around 20 years. No, I'm lying. It was not that far, because not that long ago, because I was making videos, and that would have been within, say, 11 years. And, right, probably around 11. And the guy I was parked away from the store, because I was finishing up a video, and I parked, right, you know, not close to it yet. And the guy drove up catty corner to me, right there, you know, like you see to the, you know, when somebody's catty corner, right there, the parking space on the other side of the line, to the side. And I was like, what the crap, you know? Who does that? Was she following me? That would be too weird of a coincidence, because it wasn't up at the store. It was way in the store's parking lot. And then there's another place, I don't know, I think it was a few years later, where they're now building those senior living communities. We had hoped that they were going to build, you know, some stores, but it's a senior living community, and they're still working on it. And anyway, it was real open for years, for decades. Just parking spots there. They had to tear all that out. But, you know, I'd go there and I'd sit and finish up a video or something. God, there was the guy. And he was more than once creepy to me. He didn't know me when we first, of course, you know, moved in there. And I was getting out of my SUV, and had a guy I knew with me. And, you know, it was nobody's business. It was not anything weird, you know. And the guy came out and ran over to the house, asking me what I was doing there. I looked at him and said, okay, I had to delete a little bit of that last clip, because somebody walked by with baby in a stroller, and I don't put anybody's kids at all, any minors, in my videos. So And sometimes I think that doing that messes up somehow. It puts him out of order or something. But anyway, I was talking about that neighbor that came to the house. I had to clip that part out. Came to the house one day, and there was nothing weird about, there was nothing this neighbor would think that he had some right to do this, because there was nothing bad about it. Somebody knew. And it was none of his business. And he came and walked right over to the house and asked me what I was doing there. I said, what do you mean, what am I doing here? I don't remember exactly what I said to him, but it was my house. And I probably said, this is my house. And then he just got, trying to figure like he was trying to get some information from him. I told him to leave or something. I told him, probably knowing me, to get off my property. It's none of your business. The people there are just unbelievable. They think that it's their business to get into your business. Like the neighbor that told me that they, the thing about that one is, I should set this up a little bit, is the man who did his company. He owns a company. One of our neighbors owns a restoration, I guess. I don't know. I don't think you call it restoration. When they do housework and they, why am I saying restoration? But when they do house, like they did our floors. We have real hardwood floors. His company, they did that. He doesn't just do that. They do everything. Renovations, maybe, is what I'm looking at. I don't know. But his company, he was there a few times, check up on it and stuff like that. But not long after that, his wife made a comment to me that something happened, and I don't know if somebody came to the door. See, this has been a while on these things. And she said, well, I should have been able to hear what was going on inside your house. And she made comments like that. I mean, that comment, and I looked at her. Well, on another day, there's one of her windows, the only place that window looks, window, if they're there, if they're looking out the window where it goes, is basically right at my driveway where I park. Okay, well, we park in our driveway. And it's like, why would they do that? Well, I should say what they did was they had a video camera there. Seriously. A video camera right there. I mean, I have used plenty of video cameras or, any of that stuff. But she had it right there, pointed toward my driveway. Didn't ask our permission. Maybe they were worried somebody was doing something to their home. Doubt it. I doubt it. They're just nosy like that. I am serious. Well, they're doing something. They're doing things wrong, okay? Okay. Not only does he have a business that he was running out of his house, in a way, so did she. Okay? You're not supposed to. It's against the rules. You see what I'm saying? And they generally are always breaking the rules. Really. And why this is on my mind was because I was sitting right here. Another reason it was on my mind is I was sitting right here yesterday, and that first thing triggered me. And like I said, those nosy neighbors, that when we first moved into the neighborhood, they apparently thought they owned the road. They were there first, maybe. From what I understand, the ones, we bought the house new, and they were the first one on the street. So they thought that they ran the show. And they weren't the only one that did that. There was another woman that did that. Luckily, they finally moved. She come charging at me in my yard with her, with one of her employees for her daughter or something like that. Came charging at me. I wound up calling the police. So did she. She called her police on herself. She walked into my yard. It was such a scene. I'm like, these people are crazy. But this one yesterday was walking right through here. And, I mean, you see how close I am parked to the sidewalk. I'm parked on the curb in the right direction. All that. I'm not parked, you know, again, away from the curb like you see me on the wrong side of the road like other people. No, I'm on the right side of the road. And there's nothing there that says I can't park here. And this woman walked up. They came from behind me. I did not see them until, you know, I saw a little bit of movement. And it was that neighbor, the one that when we first moved there, caused us problems. And her husband walking behind her. And I looked, right when I looked over there, you can see me, my windows aren't that dark. And I looked over there and she was doing this thing with her hand, like, you know, washing her hand, like I shouldn't be parked there. You know, do you see anywhere that says I can't park? Like, I'm gonna say it again. And did it like she owns the place. And then I need to move mine. You know, she was still walking as she was doing it. And you know, I'm like, woman. So I made sure I timed it to where she was close to her house. Seriously. And I got there just in time. Her daughter, who's in her 40s, who still lives at home, I'm not judging, but hey, had parked as usual in the wrong direction. She parked like facing toward me. Wrong direction, right at the curve. You know, you see that right there where that road turns. Now imagine somebody's parked where you see that speed limit just on the other side of it. And how many people you think can see around? It's a big SUV. How many people can see when they're turning around it? And as far as I know, you're not supposed to park at that end of the road. You're not supposed to park that close. They don't care. You know? So right when I got there, anyway, you know, she's parked on the wrong side of the road, in the wrong direction, you know, and too close to the you know, the road coming out. And how many people turning out of there are going to be able to see? And that can cause, you know, wrecks. So right when I got there and they were walking up, I did that same thing with my hand toward that, you know, their daughter's SUV. And like, she needs to move that. And I told Adam, and sometimes Adam, it's like, you shouldn't say it, to do this. But more and more lately, he has not been saying that. He's been saying the opposite. You know, good for you. Yeah, you should have done that. That's basically what he said. He said, good. I told him what I said, and he said, good. Because he does not like them because they're so nosy. They really think they own it. They own the whole, they really put out there that they own everything and everybody has to mind them. And that wasn't the only thing that she's done. I mentioned some of it in the video when it happened yesterday. But my goodness, you know, people thinking they own stuff when they're bucking the system. You know, or their daughter is. And they actually had some problems too. And got told by, I guess, the HOA that they had to change it. So, but one of the things that they did was, I wasn't in, I mean, I didn't hear it firsthand myself. And I'm not one that likes gossip and everything. But I don't think it was gossip. I don't see it as that. It was the whole situation, but they had to basically cut down some trees they put up. And the trees were drawing attention to wildlife. I don't know. I don't really know all the details, so. Okay, I had to move it as it is because a couple of families, they just came and they parked right there, right on that corner. And nobody who's going to go that direction, I mean, who's going to come out of that road is going to be able to see around where they parked, two vehicles. Okay. No, you don't need to think of other people. It's illegal, but hey. Oh, and there's somebody that just drove back up there. Uh-oh. See what happens. Apparently they're having some kind of party over there. I'm guessing a birthday party. And there's a lot of people. And they think that it's okay. It's not their neighborhood. They can park wherever they want to. Not even against the curb. You know, it's a thing today, isn't it? But anyway, I mean, I wonder about people who, you know, just think it's okay to do stuff like just like that. Like that person who, you know, I'm backing out of my my driveway, and they park more in the road because they're not parking. You know, they're supposed to park up against the curb, but they park more into the road. Okay, it's like the people who park right behind your driveway, even though the roads aren't even as big as these right here. They park right behind your. You know, it's legal for them to park there, but they make it difficult for people. You know, I don't know, but they're not supposed to park that far away from the curb. And, you know. Okay, I had to move from there because more people started showing up, and they were just parking wherever and making it difficult for them. Like if I go back that direction, it would be difficult for me to be able to see around them, to see if anybody's coming. And the way people fly past there, it's 30, and I've seen them go as much as around 60. Yeah, that would be a bad crash. But, you know, people don't abide by the law, so that's all kind of, I used to make videos calling it Narcissismville. You know, life in Narcissismville videos. It's not everybody, of course, and no place should really get a reputation. It's more of an area, and not just one suburb of Dallas, not just one area. Yeah, I mean, it gets to me how many people just make their own laws. And that is quite, you know, scary too. Because read about psychopaths, how they see nothing applies to them. When you have so many people acting as the rules and laws don't apply to them. Like whoever made that mess down there, you see? That's not the only one around here. Okay. Now, some of the things I was going to mention that I haven't mentioned in previous videos was, you know, about the people who are breaking laws and breaking rules. And sometimes, you know, there are reasons why HOAs say you can't have your business out of your home. There was another one that had a business, and they were renting. And I can tell you that I would bet, I don't bet, but, you know, that what they were paying for rent was probably less than they would pay for a business. I mean, a commercial, you know, business store, whatever, where they would be working out of. I would think so. Okay, well, I guess our best guess is maybe their lease was up or whatever, but it was more like they probably, you know, they kept doing it, and you're not supposed to have like any of your autos, you know, usually they're vans or something that has you know, it's a business van. You know, has the, you know, name. Most of them are painted and all that, you know, show their business. You're not supposed to have those either. And the reason for that I've heard, the main reason, is because the way people park and the traffic flow in and out. And some people, like that one that didn't park up against the curb, they don't care. They're just going to some business and they feel they can park however they want to. Well, that messes up the people who actually live there. And there's one that's doing that with a big, I don't know, I guess it's part of their job, whatever they do. I don't even know what they do. But it's a big, what do you call it? You know, like you have the, like moving trailers maybe that has the actually like a box, on the back of it where they put their stuff inside that. Well, they're leaving theirs there. Okay, on the road. Up against the curb, but on the road. And people park on both sides of the street. Well, that makes it difficult for us that need to pass through there. Okay, it has been consistent over years. Not just them, before them even. So, and from what I understand, people have complained about it. I don't know that for a fact, but Adam has told me that people have complained about it because they have such a hard time getting through there. There's when they have that big old thing on one side, or the big truck, Bubba truck, and then on this side, people park their big SUVs, and it narrows the road down to one little bitty lane that the people who live behind it have to stop. Well, how is an emergency vehicle going to get through there? Seriously, that's the only way they could get through there. Well, some people don't think. I'm just going to leave it there. They don't think. But I was going through the other day, and there was a car parked on the wrong side next to that. Whatever it is, trailer with the thing on it. It's a big thing. Who knows what they have back there? It's just sitting there, and there was a big SUV parked right next to it, so I just stopped. I did, and there were one with the SUV was like they were going to move. Well, they're going to move into my lane where I am. That does happen. So I just stopped, and I put up my hands like, what is this? Take a look at how this is, how tight this is for me to try to get through here. That person in the SUV never parked there again. Seriously, they did not park there again. After that, it was a week or 2 weeks ago, and I told Adam, and I just tell him what happens, and he tells me when something happens too. That time he said, good, maybe they'll finally learn. Yeah, think about other people. If an emergency vehicle, yes, had to get through there, would they be able to? I doubt it. I really do doubt it. And with me dealing with heart failure, I really don't want them putting my life in danger because they want to park right there in front of their house when they have a garage, a place to park, behind their house, not on the road. And you're not supposed to be putting anybody's life in danger. They're not supposed to be putting anybody's life in danger anyway. Okay, period. But some people, they just don't care. Seriously. Anyway, I'm starting to wheeze. You hear that? I'm not the only person. You see these people work. We saw somebody yesterday. It was yesterday or the day before. Working in a store. We went in a convenience store, and she was like bundled up. I don't know why she was bundled up, and had her thing covering her mouth. She's young, probably like 20 years old. And Adam asked her, she was okay. She said, no allergies. Yeah, they're bad. Okay, and anyway, there were other stories that I haven't told. I don't even know if I told that one. Maybe so. I don't know. But one of them was like, it happened more than once that somebody come to our door looking for the people who have the business of their home. It's disruptive to our dogs. They would go crazy. Us, here we are, our lives are slowed down. And they come, well, do you know where they are? Some of them do. Some of them were nice. They just got the wrong door. But we shouldn't have to deal with that. You're disrupting other people's lives, and you're doing it because you're bucking the system. You don't want to pay for, some, where you should, commercial thing. So you're doing this, and it's causing us problems. And it's not just that simple. We've had some say, well, this could come up and jump verbally on Adam. And he said, oh, whoa. He said, well, you don't know where your neighbor is? They owe us money. And that one wasn't too bad because we had actually seen him. They owed him $3,000 or something like that for work he did for them. Well, we don't care, and that's dangerous to us. We have actually seen worse than that, because apparently he just didn't feel like he needed to pay the people he did subcontracting, that subcontracted from him. And he would go through times, I guess, when he wouldn't pay them. And some of them were creepy, and they'd sit there all day long waiting. They didn't know they moved from that road to another road. Seriously creepy. And they'd watch you drive by them, they'd watch, like they're going to look and see who you are. Or, like I say, come to the door. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'll talk to y'all in another video. Bye. Okay, I did want to add a little more. You wouldn't believe how far down the road those people parked for that party. I guess it's a party. And how they made a few streets difficult. I don't know. I didn't go. I went the other way. But, from where it was. But they made a few streets difficult to see on for people who actually live here. Okay, for anybody going anywhere, because they parked on the ends of the roads, very ends. They want to get as close as they could so they don't have to walk. I guess they just don't care. Man, it's like a world.